Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Hackney in northeast London to Holborn in central London. This ride takes about 25 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. By public transport, the same journey takes over half an hour and requires a change of line, so cycling is a fantastic way to make this easy commuter trip. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as I try to post new videos just like it every week. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to everybody who supports the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to contribute too, then you can find a link in the description below the video. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting outside Hackney Town Hall on Mare Street, and we're going to turn into Hackney Grove, which is this narrow alleyway with its own separate cycle path and pavement. I love how narrow this street is. It makes it feel almost hidden, with the added bonus that it is by necessity car free. Across this street it becomes Martello Street, which is a curious name with an interesting history. Until 1938, Martello Street was actually called Tower Street because it was the path that led up to St Augustine's Church Tower, which is Hackney's oldest building. Now it no longer leads to the church tower because it was cut off by the building of the railway at Hackney Central and the development of Mare Street. In 1938, Tower Street was renamed Martello Street as part of a London-wide renaming of streets whose names were repeated elsewhere. If you think about it, there are probably quite a lot of tower streets, so it kind of makes sense. A Martello is actually a type of tower, a small variety of coastal fort that was built all around the British Empire and was in turn named after a tower in Corsica at a place called Mortea, which was then repeatedly misspelled and mispronounced by British officials. I know that last bit sounds like it's made up, but it does actually seem to be true. So in a way, there is a little bit of Corsica in Hackney. As you cycle through London Fields, do remember that the paths are shared with pedestrians, so make sure you ride gently. You'll then emerge onto Middleton Road. This is part of the London Fields low traffic neighbourhood, which was installed by Hackney Council in 2020. As such, it is really quiet as through traffic has been removed from the street. It creates an incredibly useful east-west route out of Hackney, and as you can see, it's very popular with people on bikes, even on a cold day like today when I filmed this video. You'll pretty much always see more bikes than cars when travelling down this street. Hackney has plans for more low traffic neighbourhoods this year. Two that we're waiting to see the designs of are Hoxton East, which should improve links into the City of London, and Dalston, which should improve links up to Waltham Forest and its excellent cycle network in turn. Those have been promised for a few years and have been repeatedly delayed. I think a lot is riding on them as Hackney has kind of taken its foot off the pedal when it comes to cycling in recent years and is increasingly being surpassed by other boroughs. So it'll be nice to see some progress. According to a Freedom of Information request I got back recently, the council has got some cash from Transport for London to do those schemes, so hopefully we'll see some progress this year. For this part of the route, we're following Cycleway 27, a TfL signposted route which was formerly known as Quietway 2. What's weird about C27 is that when it was first installed, it was actually terrible, and the streets it ran along were not particularly quiet for the most part. But then in 2020, Hackney and Islington Council installed LTNs along this section of the route and further along, and it became a really fantastic cycleway thanks to its new low levels of traffic. Backstreet routes don't always have the best reputation amongst people who cycle in London, as I think they're often used by councils which can't be bothered to do more expensive and politically difficult interventions on main roads like building protected cycle lanes. But when traffic levels are truly low, they can be a really enjoyable cycle and become very popular. This video was shot on a winter weekday morning. It's cold, but it's also pretty busy. But if you come here at commuter time on a weekday, it's absolutely thronging with people on bikes. Time and time again, we've seen that that's what happens when you provide truly safe, comfortable and direct cycle routes, whether you do that by reducing traffic on existing streets or providing protected space for people to ride on main roads, whatever their ability. The wayfinding along this section of the route is pretty good. You can follow the C27 cycle symbols painted on the ground, and there are also green and blue signs on plenty of lampposts pointing you in the right direction. If you do need a little bit of extra help finding your way for this whole video though, you can always download the free map of the route, which I link in the description below the video. It's on a website called Komoot, and you can either use the route in their app, which is free, or you can download it as a GPX file, which is like a standard format that you can use on whatever app or device you prefer. I'm not sponsored by Komoot or anything, by the way. I just think it's a convenient place for me to host the maps and for people to be able to download them. I do maps for all the videos, and I try and mention it in all the videos, because if I don't mention it, then new viewers do tend to ask if a map is available. Now there's a slightly fiddly bit through this estate here, which is basically fine, and at the end of the estate we come out onto a path which runs in front of St James's Church, Islington. And doesn't it just look absolutely glorious in the morning sun with those bicycles whizzing across it? One technical point I'd make though is if you're doing this route in the opposite direction, don't miss that turning onto that path. It's easy to do, and I've done it a few times myself, even though I know the route well. These streets are part of Islington's St Peters low traffic neighbourhood and are therefore very quiet. Some of the street furniture that we pass back there, like cross-hatching and crossing islands, kind of subliminally implies that the street should be busier, but don't worry, it's always quiet, and that stuff is actually left over from before the LTN was installed. Hopefully Islington will get around to taking that stuff out and, using the street space in a different way, maybe widening the pavements or putting in some planting now that that carriageway space is available for other uses. That's really one of the big benefits of traffic reduction schemes like this, as well as providing better space for people cycling and a more pleasant walking environment. And I doubt it'll happen anytime soon, but I've always thought you could do something even more ambitious on Colebrook Row here, which already has quite a narrow linear park running through the centre there on the right. What about building that out and turning the whole street into something more like a linear park with more greenery, nicer paving, while leaving access for properties? Probably quite a big scheme, but it's the sort of thing that traffic reduction enables, and it would be something that everyone in the borough or the wider city could come and enjoy. Previously it was quite a busy road, so that wasn't really possible, but it opens up new opportunities. I should say I love what's been gradually happening in the background here as we cycle along, which is that as we get closer to central London, we keep getting joined by more people on bikes around us until we first get a little peloton of people and then a constant stream of people cycling around us. It's a really great feeling. It used to be quite rare, but you see it all the time now, and I think that's testament to the real increase in the number of people cycling in London. Next, Cycleway 27 takes us through Middleton Square, which has the beautiful St Mark's Church in the middle. At the moment, as of spring 2025, there's actually a closure along here, I think for waterworks, but they've left a way through for people cycling, so it shouldn't affect you. One section of the route I feel could be improved is on Amwell Street, which we turn onto just here. We're only on Amwell for a short time, but it has slightly higher traffic levels than the rest of the route, although you wouldn't know it from this morning. It could benefit from either a modal filter or protected cycle lanes. There are already advisory painted cycle lanes on parts of it, so I don't think it should be too difficult to convert them. Now, I know it goes without saying, but please do be careful when riding your bike. This guy here loses control at this junction, possibly because someone swerved in front of him, I'm not sure. I did ask him if he was okay, and yeah, he was fine, so it's all good. I reckon the next stretch of this route could also be improved a little bit. After Calthorpe Street here, which is basically fine, we then cross Grazing Road onto Guildford Street. Calthorpe Street here you can see is perfectly quiet, but Guildford Street is a little bit busier, and given it connects to a really popular cycle route, I think it should either get a modal filter or protected cycle lanes. If you look back at old consultations, there were actually plans to route Cycleway 27, then Quietway 2 down here, though it never happened and the current route actually veers off in another direction. As you can see, there is plenty of space for protected lanes along here, but it would probably require the removal of some parking, which is probably why it hasn't happened. We're only on that section briefly though, and we turn into Guildford Place, which quickly turns into Lamb's Conduit Street. This is a pretty lovely part of town coming up, and it doesn't really have any through traffic in it thanks to various closures along its length. As you can see, the restaurants, pubs and cafes make good use of the quiet conditions and enlarged pavements for outdoor dining, although most of them aren't really open at this early time when we come through here. A similar sort of thing is also unfolding when we cross Theobald's Road. On the other side it turns into Red Lion Street, and Camden has put in a much more recent modal filter along here which has quietened it down, and just past these no entry signs coming up you can see that they've provided a lot of extra space for that deli and cafe to expand onto the pavement. They're also planning to extend that little semi-pedestrianised area just down to here, the junction with Eagle Street, and if those works haven't started already then they should start in 2025. But here we are, we've made it to High Holborn. Thanks for watching this far. Do let me know in the comments what you think of the route. If you enjoyed the video, please do hit the like button as it helps others find it, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do hit that button as well so that my videos appear on your YouTube homepage. I think that's a pretty good route overall, but as I said, I'd love to see improvements to Guildford Street and Amwell Street specifically. But as I say, let me know if you have any other thoughts below. Thank you once again to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon. If anyone else is feeling generous and wants to throw money at me, there's a link to it in the description below the video. And don't forget to check out the map of all the different London cycle routes videos, which is a good way to browse the channel's content in a different format. I'll see some of you in the comments, and I'll see the rest of you next time. Goodbye.